Welcome, Peter. Thank you very much for agreeing to speak with me. For those of you who are watching this that don't know, Peter is the Chief Ombudsman of New Zealand, but he and his wife Cheryl are also supporters of Orchestra Wellington, and they go so far as to be chair sponsors of our principal violist, Sophia Aitchison. And thank you very much for that. What's brought you to music? What is the role of music in your life?
I think music is vital. I remember being at school and looking at a poem, and the poem had as its thesis the fact that music is the creator of your moods. It can lift you, it can take you down, it can transport you. Music is a singularly important part of our life. And so for me, Mark, music inspires, it informs, it entertains. It's a dimension which is particularly singular to human beings. And it's that dimension which is so different and so important from other things that we do in our lives, which are more business, practically oriented. Music is that vibrancy which makes the human soul dance and inspires.
Well, that's fantastic. That is incredible. What brought you into music? Did you play an instrument as a younger person?
I was taught the piano when I was small. My mother was a good pianist. I don't think I ever achieved the heights that she wanted me to as a pianist, but I've always liked a tune. I've enjoyed singing in tune, and I've enjoyed the concept of music, although I would not purport to be a musician. I puddle away on my ukulele because I get enormous fun out of it, and I have a travel ukulele, so that goes everywhere in the world with me, and every so often I'm somewhere and out it comes and we do a couple of songs. My wife learns the cello, and her cello teacher is a member of Orchestra Wellington, and right now Cheryl is doing a Zoom lesson with Kathy, and neither she nor I would purport to have the enormous skill and knowledge that you've got as a proper musician, but we know good music when we see it, and we love it. And it's that, I think, more than our practical ability that matters.
What brought you to Orchestra Wellington? How long have you been going to our concerts?
I think we've been going, I'm going to say about 5 years. Why didn't we do it before then? Well, your life takes twists and turns. It depends to some extent on whether you are raising children. It depends on where you're living. There are a variety of factors. And people will come to Orchestra Wellington because they've reached the stage in their life where they just love to listen to music and be entertained, or they're much younger and they are musical and they enjoy the ability and the passion. So why Orchestra Wellington? It's because you make us feel at home. It's not an arrogant type of orchestra which purports to be a know-all and purports to operate at a level which diminishes our enjoyment. You involve us. So I think a lot of us are in a similar position. We feel almost part owners of Wellington Orchestra instead of spectators coming along watching a high body perform. And so that's the reason for it. And the reason that we decided that we would always purchase the tickets in advance is because the deal, if you can put it in those terms, is just wonderful. It's hard to imagine a better business model. And we could talk in a minute about why we are section sponsors. And it's all to do with feeling a part of something, wanting to promote it, wanting to encourage. It's that ownership, being part of, that to me marks out an organisation as being successful.
Wow, that's incredibly heartwarming to me, and such generous words. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm sure this won't come as a surprise to you, but that is absolutely what I'm striving for with the orchestra. This idea of community ownership. One of the things that I think is really important for the arts, and especially the performing arts, but in fact all the arts, is this idea of how does it speak to the society? How does it impact on the quality of one's life? I do feel that going to an orchestra concert shouldn't necessarily be a passive event. It needs to be a vital event, an event that speaks to you somehow. Now, speaking of the business model, yeah, I mean, this was the light bulb moment that Orchestra Wellington had 5 years ago, and I mean, I think the reason is because of this relationship we have with the audience. Do you enjoy the games we play? Like this idea of trust, like, oh, if you spend the money now, you don't know what we're going to be playing, but trust us. Do you think that
Yes,
works?
yes, I do. And look, you are pretty instrumental in all of this, and you've got to just park the ego comments to one side for the moment, because I'm talking objectively about just what you bring to Orchestra Wellington. So there is a quirkiness about your style, which personalises it, and we smile and we laugh, and you'll recall at times when the recording is occurring, and we've been asked on cue to clap and so on, and you do it in a way in which we want to do it. We don't sit there groaning thinking, oh no, not again.
Yeah.
So there is a leadership and an involvement that everyone subscribes to, and that's really important. So Mark, the culture of Orchestra Wellington is two things. It reflects Wellington, which is a small place, and a lot of us know each other, and we're there for the right reasons. And the second thing is that the culture of the orchestra itself wants to involve Wellington. It wants to reach out, and it does that through the business model of saying, if you're prepared to be loyal and subscribe to us, you'll end up in a deal term with very, very reasonably priced tickets. Orchestra Wellington gives you a really, really professional product at a cost which defies belief. And that's why you get full houses. Now, just on that point, from my earlier days when I did acting, the thing we most enjoyed was a full house and audience recognition of us. And it just inspires you and makes you as a performer happier and better. So it's very much, I think, a symbiotic relationship, if I can put it that way.
I couldn't agree more. The paradigm has utterly shifted.
Well, the other thing I just wanted to say is that we are, as you know, a chair donor, and that makes you even more of the view that you're part of this, and you can feel some pride yourself in seeing what one's pretty modest contribution is returning by way of an investment. And so it gives you an even greater part in it and a feeling of ownership. The other thing is, I remember chair donors get certain advantages, and we went to look at one of your orchestra rehearsals. Now, not many people go to see those, and it was an eye-opener for me to see how a conductor gets the orchestra ready for a performance. When I was small, I used to think a conductor just picked up a baton and away you went. But that's the end product. It's like the waiter serving the meal, which has undergone all those careful hours of preparation. And so for me, having the privilege of participating in the preparation of the product was something I'll never ever forget. I think just talking about that and the product on the night, the way it's organised is such that the time that's expended itself in an average orchestra performance is round about dead right. Wellington being small, I just want to talk about the practicalities of Wellington. Yeah. Because it's such a tiny place, it's easy to get to Orchestra Wellington. Then in terms of the first half and the way you organise it, we pretty much know the way you organise the music. And so we've got used to a routine where you will often give us something quite traditional and well-known, and then you will deliberately promote a New Zealand composer, and you'll give us something totally different. And then with the strings of the kids that come, that's different and enjoyable. Great. So I think, yes, I think that we know what we're going to get. You never walk away feeling, what on earth was all that about? There are some other shows that we go to and that we support, and we've walked out thinking, what happened in there.
Yeah.
But I think with Orchestra Wellington, you know what it is that the audience likes and wishes to have a tolerance for exploration. And you've got the joy of music and the willingness to experiment to that extent, knowing that it's going to end up in happiness. So I think there's that aspect too, that a lot of people feel you give opportunities to others that not everyone is able to do.
Well, Peter, that's incredible. I mean, one thing that I feel very, very strongly about is that we make our thought processes known. We're open with the reasoning behind what we choose. One can see that in our season brochure. There'll be a 5 or 6 page essay based on the season, and it gives my justifications as to why I think these pieces are important, why I think they work together. Just having a rationale, and I think if you're open and honest with the audience, they kind of have a sense of, oh, okay, one might not like every choice that I make, but at least they'll understand why I've made them. And I think that goes some way towards creating enjoyment, understanding, or at least appreciation.
The quality of Orchestra Wellington is hugely high. And when you look at soloists who perform, whether they're violinists, cellists, or singers, you just know that what you're hearing is incredibly classy. The quality and the professionalism is profound. And there are times when I've heard a performance from Orchestra Wellington, and it's been so busy with people working flat out, percussion going flat out. There was one like that at the end of last year, and I was exhausted at the end of it because of the sheer energy that went in. So, Mark, I think the product is exceptional, absolutely exceptional.
You know, Peter, if this Ombudsman gig doesn't work out for you, you're always welcome to be our chief publicist.
Why do we consistently come, and why do we consistently support? It's because you do give us what we're looking for. In the case of Orchestra Wellington, you're nicely pushing boundaries, and you're nicely giving us what I will call famous and well-known music as well. So the combination's good. You're making a connection, and I think that is important. I think that some of the artists in shows that have performed, and some of the famous ones, the names that you would know, like Bob Dylan and so on, people know whether they're just there to play the music and then leave, or whether they're actually there to participate and engage. An audience can suss that out. And the artists, the conductors that succeed in communicating and wishing the audience to be part of it are clearly different from those that can't do it or aren't interested. And I think you've ended up with Cheryl and me, typical attendees of the orchestra who didn't start off being obsessed or addicted to Orchestra Wellington, but have ended up that way. And and it's because it works so well. Now, the trick is to sustain it. We are always only as good as we were yesterday. But you know that. You're a professional. And I think I can happily conclude now by saying, when Kirsten asked me if I'd do this, I had no hesitation. Because it's really good, I think, to praise and give encouragement where it's the right thing to do. And in this case, it is. It's good for Wellington. It's good for individuals. It's good for music. And that's really the lesson in one.
1, 2, 3, 4.